Hi, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the New York State PTA webinar series for the 2017-18 school year. I welcome you all. Agnes, Bonnie, Catherine, Donna, when you finally get in and hear us, Ingrid and Jane, and of course, Dana. Appreciate you all taking your time to be here. I'm going to go through the slides. You can definitely type questions if you want to. Jane will be on to help field the questions. When I can, I will stop and answer the questions as they come in. For those I can, I will definitely catch at the end of the presentation. Anybody have any questions at all? All right, hearing none, we're going to get started. So again, thank you for joining us for our New York State PTA webinar series, Effective Home School Community Relationships. My name is Antoinette Darden Cintron. I am the New York State PTA Leadership Development Coordinator. Here we go. Okay, building great relationships with school and district leadership. Here are our objectives: to gain an understanding of family and school community relationships, to learn best practices of fostering effective relationships within your school community. And when I say school community, I am meaning not just, let's say, your elementary school, but all of your schools in your school district, and including local businesses and your district office as well, and local community services as well. Understand how schools and families can engage more within the school community. So those are our objectives. I came across this question and I thought it was really interesting. Where can anyone find an opportunity to impact a child's world as easily and as well as in a school or home? Helping children to grow and develop while influencing, engaging, and making an impact in their education at its foundation. Moreover, who is more capable of guiding families and communities through that process? To me, this speaks to how the impact of a caregiver, whether that's a parent, a grandparent, local community members who care about children in our schools. Anybody can make an impact in our schools. I think it's at the heart of the work of advocacy. And also speaks to that family engagement. To me, it's not a single event, but it is an ongoing process. So let's think about that as well. So what are the family interactions? So when you think about schools, I'm talking about in schools and communities, what do those family interactions look like? So you have some families who avoid schools like the plague. You know, they drop their kids off and keep it moving. You have some families who need encouragement to come to school. Maybe they're not comfortable interacting in schools, or just don't know how to interact with schools, know how the workings of schools and school districts work. You also have families who readily respond when invited to school, so they get that event flyer. You can count on them to be there. Families also who are comfortable and enjoy involvement in school. So these families, you don't really have to ply in with gift cards and all these other different things that schools use to get people to get involved. You say something, they're there, they're comfortable, they can really take the time to enjoy being in a school. And then you have families who enjoy power and are overly active. So again, you have that, that overactive parent or family member that are on all the committees. They might be on more than one PTA. They come to every meeting. They're at your school board meetings. They are so overly involved, and they like the power of their interactions at schools and school communities. All right, so now we know also that there are plenty of family involvement barriers. So I look at it in two ways. So there are family barriers, but there are also school community barriers. And I think these are the thing that really stops good community involvement between families and the local school communities. So on the family barrier side, you have families that don't have enough time. You have families that feel like they don't have anything to contribute. Maybe they're not comfortable. Maybe they don't know what to contribute. You have families that don't understand the systems and they don't know how to be involved. Like for me, when I first moved to my town, which is the town of Greenburgh, when I first came from New York City, I had no really idea about school boards, how they work. So when I first came to my town, I didn't go to school board meetings because I had no idea what they were about or how I could even be involved. And look at me now, I'm actually a school board member. But those are some of the barriers when we talk about they're not understanding the systems and don't know how to be involved. Many families can lack childcare. Some families are just truly intimidated. Family schedule, they have family schedule conflicts, so maybe mom can go but doesn't want to take her children, but dad's not home in time to be with them. So family schedules also have a play in that, or their work schedules. Maybe someone works late in the evening and that stops them from going to evening events and different things like that. And then there's language and cultural differences as well. And that can be a major barrier, especially when we don't either understand the language or we don't understand the cultural differences. One thing that I will say that I learned today in my job, I was talking with a parent coordinator in the city, and something he discovered. He works in, his school is in Queens, and they have a large Muslim population. And he would send the invitations to all the families. And he really didn't pay attention to who he was sending the invitations to. So many times he would send the invitations to the mother. And it wasn't until he discovered, speaking with a father who came in one day, that in their religion, if mail comes to their house and it doesn't have the father or the husband's name on the mail, they most likely will not open the mail. So that is something that's a cultural difference that if you don't know it, that can be a major barrier to communicating with families. Then we also have lack of transportation. Even in, suburban communities, not all families have their own vehicles. Many families may travel on public transportation, and then you have to deal with schedules and times and getting to transportation properly. And then families, some families don't feel welcome in schools, whether the school and physical environment is not welcoming or whether they may have had an interaction with school staff or district staff in some kind of way and they didn't feel like a warm reception. Now, for school community barriers, administrators are too busy. There's a lot going on. They're running the school. They're ensuring that their teachers are working with your kids correctly, that they are, following instructional focuses, that they're doing what they need to do, but at the same time making sure that your kids are safe, healthy, and learning in the building. And there are a lot of other constituents that would make them too busy. So sometimes administrators may not have time. Then there are misperceptions of family abilities. There could be some schools and some administrators may think families may not be able to do this, or families may not be able to contribute in this way, and that may stop really good communication and interaction with families. Sometimes there's a lack of understanding of family communication style. Again, it's not just language as far as speaking a different language. It also could be, you never know, you could have parents that may be deaf, may be blind, all sorts of different things that kind of come into play that could have an effect on effective communication between the school community and families. There's a lack of training to work with families. I think this is one of the biggest barrier in my job that I get paid for. I am a family leadership coordinator, so I work for a superintendent, and in all of his schools, my job is to ensure that family engagement is at a high level in each of the schools. And I think that many times people assume that school staff, including administrators, know how to communicate and know how to work with families. And that's not always true. So is the school community being trained to work with families effectively and to partner with them? So that's something that could be a major barrier to family involvement. Lack of understanding family attitudes towards engagement. Again, cultural differences, view that families value extracurricular activities versus academics. So you may be at a school where it's all rah, rah, rah about the sports, but we missed out on the academics. And some parents may be turned off about that. Maybe they're not into athletics, but they're more into the academics, and that's what would draw their interest and draw their involvement in schools. And then negative contacts, more frequent. So what schools can be known to do is pick up the phone pretty quickly when maybe a child is misbehaving, or if a child is not achieving in school. Those type of contacts, especially if they're very frequent, that becomes the norm, and families begin to think that's the only interaction that I should have. If something's wrong, that's when I'll be contacted, that's when I come in. And it really, when that becomes a practice, it really takes away from families having that feeling that positive interactions are warranted and very much needed in our schools. And then finally, school communities don't feel respected by families. And again, I think there are a lot of expectations on the family side, especially when we're talking about our children. There can be a lot of passion in their expectations or the needs that they feel that they have that are or are not being met, and we can have some really testy times. And so maybe it can get that feeling to the school community, whether it's teachers or administrators, that families don't respect the work that schools are doing. Let's see. Okay. So here, family-school community relationships are also very much, of course, equally important to New York State, national PTA and also New York State PTA. This is the national standards for family-school partnerships, and it has, I would say, 6 tenets, welcoming, or 6 standards. Welcoming all families is standard 1. Of course, having a welcoming environment, whether that's a physical environment or whether that's just being able to bring families in and making sure that people are interacting in positive and really pleasant and warm ways. So that's what I would say. Communicating effectively. Again, whether it's phone calls to parents, whether it is, whether it is letters out to parents, packets to parents, communication is really important, and you have to have effective communication to have really true family-school partnerships. It's supporting student success. So it is making sure that students are having a well-rounded education. It's making sure that they are successful not only academically, but also when it comes to extracurricular activities and other things that really make the child whole. It's speaking up for every child. That is equally important. We know in some level or another that our communities can be very diverse communities. And even if it's not our specific communities, PTA is about all children. All children, all of our voices speaking up for all children, whether it's in our immediate community or in our outer community. So it's about making sure that our family-school partnerships are beneficial to all families and for every child. And sharing power. So being parents that really, and families that share power. They work with the schools to develop policies, understand policies, share information. It's about communities coming together and working to make our school community as a whole better for all families and all students. And then collaborating within the community. And again, that collaboration extends to working with families, but like I said earlier in the slide, I think we're also talking about how do we collaborate with local businesses, whether it's the local pizza shop that may give coupons to schools for kids who do, you know, make the honor roll. That's a good connection and collaboration to whether it is a community health center that may come in and join the school community or the district at a health fair where they might have free mental health screening. So these national standards can be found at pta.org, and you can get more in-depth information about the national standards for family and school partnerships. But I think these 6 standards really speak to how to have healthy family and school community relationships. All right, the next slide. We now have best practices for family and school community partnerships. So one of the main things I would say is create a welcoming school climate. So again, we are talking about the physical, right? But we are talking about some other things. This work that we're talking about, family and school community partnership, it goes beyond the visual family and community friendly environment, but it involves in-depth work that families, with families, and bridges the gap between schools and communities. So we know many schools send out like that welcome packet, but I'm saying even go further than that. That welcome packet that usually has what in it? It usually has the school, your child's schedule, or the clubs that your child could get involved with, or the school supplies list. So they are talking about a very personal greeting to that family, inviting families to visit the school. We're talking about having a community service directory. Again, it would be nice if you can share information like where the library is, where the health center is, all different types of services that would be of value to our community members. Important school contact information, a school calendar, any coupons to local businesses. Also, you want to have teachers make personal contacts with families through email, phone calls, or home visits. I don't see many teachers that do that, but boy, if this was happening with your teachers, your child's new teacher gives your family, your home a call to say, I'm looking forward to meeting your child and having him in my class, and sharing their contact information. That will go a long way to showing a family how deeply, not only that you care about your child, but how committed, you know, a teacher is to the work that they're doing and into, you know, building a good partnership with our families. So those are some things that I think make a school environment more welcoming. You can hold an open house. Many schools do that prior to the opening of schools. I see a mix of it. I would probably see most open houses once schools have already began. They may have open houses prior to for new families to a school district, but I think it will be interesting to do a lot more prior to school opening. And families there, they can meet their children's teachers, they can tour the school building and meet other parents. Even if you're returning to school, sometimes there are facility changes that you just don't realize that happens. And I think that's a missed opportunity to walk families through the building to say, hey, this is something we're doing new, or we created this new meditation room, or hey, we built a greenhouse on campus. Whatever it is a good time. I think it's really good to do like a family walk through the facilities so they can see the new changes and upgrades that are happening in your schools. Also, you can provide, some schools provide transportation and childcare to enable families to attend school-sponsored family involvement events. Again, transportation can be a challenge for many families. So this could be something that a school could provide. Offer translators to welcome and assist families during school activities. I would say a great thing to do here is, especially if you know some families who speak different languages, this is a good opportunity to ask those family members to get involved if they're comfortable. Some funds like Title I funds, if you have those schools, offer funds where you can use funds to have translators, where you can pay for translation service, a person live in your face, translating, or also translating devices. I don't know if you guys, have you guys seen where you can have this device that you put it in your ear and you have someone translating on another end of the room so that you can listen to the translation as it's happening, and you don't have to, and that person doesn't have to be standing next to you in order to translate it to you. So that's something that I think is really important. And lastly, I would say ensure that all staff understand the cultural makeup of the community and how to effectively engage with all cultures, and also how to infuse different cultures into the school community. I think children are really perceptive to that if they're in their classroom and we're celebrating all types of cultures. And when their culture is celebrated too, it tells a student, a child, that they're important as well. And it's a really welcoming feeling for students to participate in things like that. And I think that's really important in showing, especially within diverse communities, that a school thinks all cultures are important. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. Okay, because it's so weird, because it's so silent. So I feel like people are not there. Okay, I'm back. Thank you, guys. Best practices for family and school community partnerships. Help all families to establish home environments that support children and students. So I think this one is another biggie and another missed opportunity. I always, wonder, how are we helping families help their children be successful at home? I know I have a 16-year-old and he struggles with being organized. And I'm figuring out, and he's figuring out on his own how to do that. But how helpful would it be if there were educators, teachers from his school community that may have ways that they know, organizational styles that they're doing in their classroom that they're seeing that is helping students, that maybe they can pass on to families. I think that would be something that will be great and could be really useful to families. So, one, you can accommodate family work schedules for meetings and events. I think that's really important. A lot of times you have some meetings at 3 o'clock, 3:30. I know in my school district I made a big deal out of a school board committee that was meeting at 2:30 in the afternoon, and it had community members on there. How can how can you ask members to leave work that early? That can really impact, and not everybody has, I think maybe not the stability, but have the ability to say to their, boss or higher up, hey, I'm going to take a half day to go, to my child's school or to work within the district. So I think we really have to think about how family work schedules need to be thought of when we're planning our meetings and events. Develop opportunities for training families on education issues and new programs and curriculum students and curriculum that students will engage in. Even if families may not understand the curriculum that's coming through, I think just sitting down and really exposing families to what their child might be engaging in the classroom would be helpful to families. At least they know a little bit of what's happening, and maybe there is some bit of help they could offer their children as students at their homes. Engage families in after-school programs and youth development opportunities. Hey, there could be parents that love soccer. You know, maybe having volunteer coaches. I think we're losing a lot of that. There's a lot of coaches that tend to be just school staff, but I think that's an opportunity to have good family-school partnerships. And you can have after-school programs. And you never know with the artists that you might have sitting in a family or an engineer that could possibly offer some support to some after-school programs. Also, provide home visits via webinars. Hey, we're participating in one now. So provide home visits via webinars. Maybe you can't knock on each family's door and have an in-person, in-home visit, but home visits via webinars, helping families transition through the changes in schools. You know, I think it's really important, and I think some families can have a little bit of anxiety when their babies are entering high school or even moving from elementary to middle school. I think it's kind of cool to have a little webinar where families can log on, and you might see an elementary teacher, a middle school teacher, a high school teacher just explaining what the new school will look like in regards to expectations, in regards to emotions that children could be going through. I think that will really go a long way with parents, making them feel more comfortable about the transitions that their children are going through. Also, and lastly, provide ideas for creating homework centers at home, best study environments, free resources in the community to support learning at home. Libraries that a lot of times have free resources. Many families don't know about them. So if schools and school communities can be aware of that and share that, that would really help. Again, homework centers at home and best study environments. You would think that that's something that naturally happens and families naturally know, but sometimes they don't. And it really can be a stressful time and not really knowing how to truly support successful study and homework habits. And sharing information and tips and tools would be of great value to our families. Best practices, more best practices for family and school community partnerships. Design more effective school-to-home communities. 1. End digital gaps by providing discounted laptops, tablets for families, excuse me, and software training. Not all families have those items, and not all families can afford them. But maybe if we can provide discounted opportunities, or maybe we can provide free opportunities for these items, it will help families be able to better get engaged and interactive in regards to communication. I know that Sprint offers families free cell phones. It doesn't have voice service on there, but it does have internet connections. So it does allow you, they have programs in some schools that allow families to take a Sprint phone home and they can be able to browse the internet. And that may be all the things that someone needs. A family may have cell phones or may have just landlines at home but don't have internet access. But hey, I have a Sprint phone, now I can communicate in that way. So that's another really good way to design more effective school-to-home communications. Number two, you can,
Antoinette,
yes.
this is Bonnie. I just have a question.
Mhm.
As a school information officer, what I'm wondering when I read all this on this, is this basically on this slide what you'd like to see school districts do and what you'd like PTAs to advocate for their school districts to do?
I say it's both. I think that this
Okay.
is a way for PTA to communicate with schools, some
Okay.
ways that they can enhance effective communications. But this slideshow is not only for PTAs to share with families, but it's also, I see it as PTAs also sharing it with schools directly.
Because in my role, I could see this pointing some really great things out to me to look
Yes,
at.
yes.
To
Yep.
make sure, like, we don't have updated teacher websites at all times. You know, that's something that I'm looking into right now in my role in the school. So I just wanted to clarify that because I think this particular slide could be interpreted multiple ways, and I like the way you're saying it can be. Thank you.
Yes, no problem. I think, and I'm glad you brought that up because I do want to be clear about not only this slide, but the slide overall. And I'm not sure how individual PTA members would do this, but I think it is not only to share with your PTA members or just your families in general, but this is something that really should be shared with the school community too, whether that's at the school level or at the district level, because I'm finding that there are tips and tools and insight that I think that can help at all levels of the school community. And that means families at the school level, at the district level, and within the local, community school businesses and services as well.
I agree. That's a really great point. Thank you, Antoinette.
No problem. Of course, have language translators assist families as needed via written, oral communications, and including in person and over the phone. I know sometimes we're, working with different families. Sometimes someone might email me and it is written in Spanish. And I know off the top I have to help this family resolve whatever issue that it is, but I call on a colleague that speaks Spanish, and then they help me translate what I want to say. But also, I know that I always still need to have that phone call, and we get together to have that translation happen via phone. She'll talk on the phone directly to the parent, and I'll tell her what, I want to say, and we sort of introduce me, but introduce my colleague as my translator. So it works really well. Review the quality of all translations. I've heard this before where school districts do have translators, and then a family member will come up to me or come up to someone and say, hey, this was sent to my house, but I want to let you know this is not the proper way to say A, B, C, and D. So you really, even when you have translators, you really need to ensure the quality of the translation. That will turn families off very quickly. Websites should be easily accessible to all families, and information should be found quickly. I think this is something that especially school districts really have to be mindful of, and PTAs as well. If you also have your own website, how easy is it for someone to be able to dig in and say, hey, I just need to find the homework from my teacher? And you have to go through 1 layer, 2 layers, 3 layers, 4 layers. That's too much. A website, especially nowadays, people want it to feel simple and easy. You can click on it. You can get to what you need to get to. It shouldn't be a treasure hunt. If it is, you need to revamp your website. So that's really, really important because it turns people off as well. Of course, the updated teacher websites. And Bonnie, you may know that tends to be, a little bit of a struggle. I've heard people say that's not in my contract and all sorts of things. But I think, if we're advocating for effective, communication and interaction, this is something that's really important. And
I would
also,
agree with you.
yes,
And I think you are right. Sometimes that is one of the reasons that comes up, but I think there are
yes.
ways that people can work around that.
Yes, that's one of the things we hear quite frequently, down to people, not wanting to post homework. And again, that's not in my contract. So we got to figure out really how to work around that narrative and help families really advocate. I know in my district, that's something we're advocating, but we face that rebuttal quite often. Okay. And then number 6, provide information and training on all the levels of communication throughout the district. So again, to me, I would say a quick example, sometimes something happens, let's say, to your child, or you have a concern, and it might have happened in the classroom, but you start with the principal. And really, proper protocol, if you want to say that, is probably to reach out to the teacher and see if you can resolve it at that level, and if you don't get the help you need, and, then go to the principal. Or some people go directly to the superintendent and skip over everyone. So I think it is the matter of helping families find, understand the levels of communication and how to navigate through their school district. They don't understand all the latest. They don't know that there's a facilities, assistant superintendent of facilities, or whatever you want to call it. They don't understand that. They don't understand there might be someone that only works with curriculum. So, or there's different boards, and boards have different board communities. So it's really important if there could be some sort of communication, even if it's like a graphic or something that really can be something easy and visual that people can clearly see, okay, who do I go to address this concern or to share this idea with? Okay, let's see. Best practices, again, with some of the best practices, build meaningful relationship with families and further opportunities for volunteering. So I think when we're talking about family and school partnerships, again, we're also trying to build families that's not only involved, not only do they come to events, not only do they come to parent-teacher conferences, but sometimes we need families to be active participants in making the wheels of our school communities move. So here are some tips and ideas about helping and creating more opportunities for volunteering. So this is an easy one, but I think some people miss this. Work to match the talents and interests of families to the needs of students, teachers, and administrators. So this is when, families, people do surveys, find out what family interests are, what their skills are, what their hobbies are, and connect people to that. So, or what their careers are. So got a very good example. I'm on the communication committee for the school board. We are trying to rebrand. We hired a consultant to rebrand our, what do you call it, our Falcon. Nobody was satisfied with that, right? But then guess what happened? We found a father of an elementary student that actually does branding work. And he has revamped our entire district brand from top to bottom. Each school from elementary on to high school has a new mascot, has a mascot for t-shirts, regular t-shirts, mascot for parent, mascots for the athletics. There's a whole array of colors and a branding guide, everything. And this is us tapping into a family and what he had to offer. And thankfully, he's doing all this for free, but it's such a valuable thing that he's doing for our school district. So it's tapping into what families like and what their interests are. I think that's a good way to get more volunteers. School communities can give families meaningful roles in decision making and provide training and information. So maybe you might have the strategic planning committee, and you invite families to be a part of that, to share their thoughts about the different areas that we are focusing on. meet the challenges that many families face. Again, if you want them to be involved, we have to help get them to meetings. We may have to help in regards to helping them find ways for childcare. Also, families and the community as a whole should be a part of the decision-making process at all levels of the school communities. There shouldn't be a level of the district community that a family cannot have a voice or impact in. And then you have collaboration with the community. Teach families about levels of the school community, from school aides. Not many people know what school aides are, what do they do, all the way up to school boards. Inform families of district practices. So if I go to a school board, how do I speak? Do they know that they sign up with the district clerk? Do they know who a district clerk is or what she does? Educate families how to share ideas, how to volunteer, help families understand the protocol and procedures at school board meetings and structure of the district overall. Provide and share resources with families from local communities. So there's a lot happening in our communities. Do they know where the best movie theater is? Don't go to that one down the street because their popcorn is bland, but go to the other one 2 miles up. Do they know about the different healthcare services, culture events, tutoring services? We should be a wealth of information for our families. And collaborate with local businesses to help give families discounts. So maybe in that welcome back packet, they have those things. Free shirts cleaned at your, cleaners after the first 2 shirts, whatever it is. There's definitely opportunities to provide more collaboration with local businesses. More ways to enhance family and school community relationships. A place for families to gather. How many schools have a family center? A family center could exist in a district building or in a particular school. A welcome center for whether it's new families to your community, to the country, whether families that may need, they don't have computer access at home, but you have computers there where they can use. They have maybe mini libraries, just different things where families can feel like there's a place to gather to learn more about themselves, about their schools, about their families. Have a career day. This is a great way to figure out what your families are doing and what their skills are. So invite families. And when I say invite families, don't send a flyer home. Send a specified to John's father directly to him. Make it personal. Make it known that you are interested in them and your class, your kids are interested in hearing what they do. And then also, number 1, PTA connecting families and school. There is no other to me, and maybe to many of you on this webinar, that does it better than PTA in working with our schools, in working with our families. We are the group that I consider to be the experts in helping families really learn how to navigate our schools and really learn to have effective practices of communicating with families. So PTA leads the way in embracing families, in being a reflection and a modeling for our school communities in regards to inclusivity, relationship building, equating families and community members, and collaborating with all stakeholders. That's what we do, and we do it well. So what do we all want? How do we get it? Commitment to the best for all of the school community. And again, that's from families to local businesses and services to the school district. Engaging in decision making and sharing of ideas, work towards a common goal of our community and our children. And I would say those common goals are having children achieve in a safe and a healthy environment, understand how our school districts and schools work, get to know our local government, which of course is a very important part of our school community, and inviting them in, getting them connected as well, gather and share resources, and understand key education laws, rights, and initiatives. We need to make sure that we are helping our families understand what's at stake at the federal, state, and local level. Family, school, and community. Are there any questions? I've been looking on this screen and I haven't seen any, so I'm assuming we have some at the end. Yes? Okay, I'm not hearing any questions.
Antoinette,
Yes?
this is Bonnie. This isn't a question, but going back one slide, I just wanted to comment on something. You know, you had
Yes.
made, yeah, right there where you say about get to know your local government and getting the community involved. I know for the local units in our school district, at least 2 of them for their park programs, they have a component where they just invite in local government and other people that are very involved in the community to read to the kids.
Oh,
Something
yes.
it's something very simple, and the kids love it, and it's a great opportunity for those people that we need to advocate to see the great things our schools are doing and that our PTAs are doing.
Exactly.
Have you heard of other people doing that too, Antoinette?
Yes, in my school district, we not only do it with our local government, but there are a lot of other volunteers. Like, and I'm just talking about they may not even have children in the school district, but businesses, like business owners, want to come and read to our school children. I forget what the name of the program, but there's a specific program where we invite community members to join our children in a reading hour.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is Jane. I was just going to say that in the community that I work in, they reach out to the faculty members in a local college to come and do these readings too during a certain amount of the year.
That's awesome.
Really cool connection.
Yeah. It's really, it's awesome because I don't know if people are really see it. It's showing children the connection to college and how important that is. I think that's a really good idea too. So I know I hear background noise. Are there any other questions or comments that you guys want to share?
This is Melena.
Hi, Melena.
Hi. I missed some of your workshop, but for what I see, I think that there could be several presentations stemming from this that are very basic to parents, which is understanding educational law, rights, initiatives. That's an entire subject. Understanding how a school district works, that's an entire subject. Engaging in the process. Do we even know what the process is? So I think this is great, but I can see other very engaging and passing of knowledge of how some of these individual statements work, and that could create another workshop. And I think this is a great beginning. But most parents don't understand a lot of this. They don't even understand where a budget for school comes from and where their dollars are coming. So this is great. I mean, I look forward to seeing more of this, but I think we need to really break down the format to give them the knowledge to really advocate for many of the programs that we need to have in schools.
I agree. This is like this is an overall presentation for how to have really good family and family
Yeah.
and school partnerships.
And
And
I also think that these can be conducted in Spanish. I think that there's a great need to have these in Spanish. I wish I had known. But these are so necessary in Spanish, where a lot of districts, the majority of students, especially I would say in, obviously in Westchester County, and especially in the southern part of it, and maybe in Long Island, and across the river, there's many places where this could happen bilingual. I would say Arabic and other languages, but I don't speak those. We would have to get our partner PTA members who can help us with that. But these also definitely should become bilingual,
I
so that
agree.
we can reach beyond our Anglo speakers, and they can have a better understanding of, the system is just so much more different here, and you really need to know and to be engaged.
Yes, I definitely agree. Having all of the webinars in a variety of languages is really important to ensuring that the message is being shared and passed on to our greater communities. Just like the work we want our school communities to do, to make sure that we are effectively communicating. Are there any other comments or questions?
Antoinette,
Oh, wait.
I'm seeing Agnes has one. Are you seeing that in the chat?
Oh, I see. Any advice for a special education PTA or any words of wisdom? To be quite honest, I think in regards to a special education PTA, and this probably is happening anyway, I think special education PTAs, they should be collaborating with the school district overall and with PTA overall, because I think there are some issues that are very much the same, but there are also issues that are different. But I think when we work together with district personnel too, that specializes in working with families with special needs, I think that's really important, because sometimes there are different ways that we need to work and we need to communicate with others. So I would say not only work together and collaborate with your local PTAs, but work together with district personnel, whether that's teachers, administrators, to help in regards to building really better family partnerships, especially for, our special education students. I think that's a missed opportunity. And any words of wisdom, go everywhere and be engaged in the process, from the school level all the way up to, the district level as well, and make sure that your concerns and your ideas are heard, and that's what I would say too. And there are also another ideas, again, like I said before, there are a lot of committees, not just on the school board, but at the district and at the school level. Join those committees as well. And I'm not only talking about, join a special education committee. I'm talking about joining committees, period. Because your voice and what your special education PTA brings value, and sometimes it can be a very unheard voice. Agnes, did you think, did I answer your question well? Do you have should I elaborate any more, or how are you feeling about that? You're welcome, Agnes. Are there any other questions?
I'm with the high school PTA at Shaker, and I'm not sure how we can become more involved. It just seems like we have fundraisers that raise money for a couple of events we have at the end of the year, but otherwise we don't really have a lot of involvement with the school.
Now, is this Ingrid?
Yes.
Okay, great, because I'm watching this. I just want to make sure I'm watching the screen right. So Ingrid, I would say the fundraisers that you have, there are fundraisers, I'm assuming that you're raising funds for a specific cause or maybe event or some sort of thing within that school?
There are events that we, appreciation luncheon for the teachers at the end of the year and ice cream socials for the seniors and underclassmen.
Okay, so I love those a lot, right? They're nice, but the other thing that we need to do, right, is those teachers, because they're used to it now, that at the end of the year, this is going to happen. The seniors are used to at the end of the year, this is going to happen. I think that what you need to do is meet with your, your PTA. Do you have a teacher liaison on your PTA?
No, we don't.
So that could be something that could be interesting. I'm not sure if your bylaws does say that or not, but that's something that you can look into. I think it's important to have a teacher liaison.
We have a problem with teacher involvement.
Okay. So I think that's probably something that needs to be focused on. What grade are you, grade level? You said high school? Yes, high school, right?
Yes.
9th to 12th. And I think that tends to happen in many high schools. I would probably say try to get a teacher liaison. There's bound to be someone. Find out who the new teachers are. Who's new, and has it set into that sort of way of that not involvement. Find out who the new teachers are. Speak to them. Ask them if they wouldn't mind being a liaison. And using help, work with that person to help develop ideas on how to, get more teachers involved. Create an event or try to create an event that really is dependent on teacher, involvement in some way, shape, or form. Some of the things that we do in the city to increase family involvement, we've been doing paint nights at schools. And we work with the art teachers. The art teachers, and they love it. They set it up. We get, the easels and everything. That's a good way to get the art teacher involved. But then other teachers started seeing it. We have teachers staying for the paint night for the families. So think of ways where you can incorporate that teacher's God, well, I can't think of the word. Their expertise. That's the word I'm going to use. That's not the word I really want. But think of their expertise or even their passion. Like there's an English teacher. She loves anime. And so she does the anime club. So think of teachers that have dynamic personality, new teachers, something that really speaks to their talent in a fun way. And help, and try to foster an event or an idea around that.
Okay.
All right.
We actually do have an anime club at our school.
Yeah, a lot of kids like that one.
Antoinette, can I piggyback on that and just suggest something that we did in our high school PTA that was very successful? We had in past generations difficult relations between faculty and the PTA. So there was resistance to, the faculty didn't join the PTA and they didn't come to our events. But there's a real need for communication between teachers and parents at that level. And of course, the students don't tell you anything. You ask your child what happened and they say nothing. So we decided that we would just take our regular monthly or bi-monthly PTA meetings and dedicate the first 20 minutes or so to a showcase for teachers. And our president went and talked to the teachers at a faculty meeting and said, look, we know that great things are going on in the classroom. There is no way that the parents know that this is going on because their children don't share this information. We'd like to dedicate 20 minutes, 10 to 20 minute slots at the beginning of our meeting to invite teachers just to come and talk about what's going on, anything that they're interested in, proud of, some kind of projects that their students are doing that they would like the parents to know about.
I like that idea.
Once one person signed on and they realized it was a very low stakes, we were just there, we were happy to hear anything they wanted to tell us. we saw fantastic stuff. I mean, there were so many good things that were going on, and we had science teachers and English teachers, and once they realized that it was a non-threatening environment, that we really just wanted to give them a chance to share the good things that were going on, we had a booked, our meetings were booked for the whole year. And of course, parents were more willing to come if they were going to find out what their kids were doing in school too. So it worked to our benefit as well.
That's an awesome idea, Jane.
I like that idea. We're lucky that we have our principal is very, very involved in our club, in the PTA, so he would probably be excited to get the teachers involved in something like that.
Good idea. All right, any other questions? Okay, I don't think I'm hearing any other questions. I'll ask any final comments, suggestions, or ideas.
Great job.
Thank you so much.
Translated.
Yes, we'll be working on translating it for sure. Thank
Will
you,
the-
guys. No, go
Will these
ahead.
slides be available to print out?
The slides right now are on the website. Am I correct, Jean?
Yes, they're on the website.
Okay.
No audio?
The audio? I'm pretty sure they're going to be, because this is being recorded. This is all being recorded, so they
And
should. I'm
Jeanette,
not
the
sure how
plan-
soon.
Yes, the plan is to put them on the website.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Recorded.
I can translate and do audio if you guys want.
Awesome.
Great.
So the slideshow itself, it's on the website now. The recording of it will be on the website as well. So everybody, I thank you so much for taking the time out to join us on our not very first, but our very first webinar for the 2017-18 school year. I ask that you please, if you enjoyed yourself, if you felt like it was informative, tap somebody on the shoulder, text someone, call them, and say, don't miss the very next one. Thank you, guys. I hope you all have a great night.